Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 51 of Two Guys, Zero Planners. This is the semi-annual episode for 2023. Who knows? Maybe we'll do more. Maybe we won't. It's really just going to depend on life and other things. But hey, we're kind of back and potentially, maybe or maybe not, talking about pens and pen-related things, or just going on a complete tangent that we have no idea what we're doing. So, hey, Urban, how's it been going, man?
I'm kidding. It was a nice day here, so it's in the evening now. We've been working in the garden. I've been digging holes for some plants we got a few days ago, and now I'm really exhausted. How about you?
I am at the opposite end of the day. Stayed up till 4 a.m. playing a video game and drinking some really good scotch, but I may have been drinking straight from the bottle. So, yeah, there was a little too much scotch imbibed, and I'm definitely kind of feeling it. Not kind of feeling it. I'm definitely feeling it. Aside from that, yeah, it's been a great day so far. I've slept, and I slept. So
yeah, that's nice. Good start.
Yeah, the only bad thing is I was going to do this thing where last second I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm recording video because I'm going to be lazy and use the podcast as free Inktwell material because I have not recorded an Inktwell video in, 3 months now?
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to get all of that stuff out of the way first and then talk about the good stuff or what?
Yeah, I mean, everything's been on hiatus for both of us, right? Also, the other podcast we haven't recorded for months either, right? So,
right.
It was just, at least on my side, it was, I don't know, new job, or, well, not new job, but the company got acquired by the Americans. So culture shock, maybe.
Leave it up to the Americans to always ruin it for everybody.
Well, I don't know. To be fair, it's like the company is now, I don't know, an order of magnitude bigger. So stuff has to work differently. I get that. But it's also different switching from a European style company to an American one. Definitely. 6 months in, we're sort of settling in and understanding at least a bit how stuff is working. And that was a bit of a crazy ride.
Yeah, we definitely do work quite a bit different than other countries, and I'm not necessarily entirely convinced it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, especially maybe that's the with the headquarters and sort of the higher ups in the US, and then us, a lot of people in other countries and other time zones. It's of course that doesn't help either, I guess, when you're so far away.
I can only imagine. Something about having to take care of that global of a reach, I think, would drive me crazy. So,
yeah. But on the other hand, pay is good. So on that front, I can't complain.
Exactly. When the pay is good, it's amazing what you'll do to just keep going with the pay that happens to be really good.
Yeah, golden handcuffs and stuff. So right. I shouldn't complain, I guess. But being German, of course, I am complaining anyway.
I mean, I could probably complain more, but that would require me to be coherent. So I'm going to try to not complain as much because I almost feel like the last few episodes have been Yvgenii complains about everything. And while that is true, I don't want to be that guy all the time, just 90% of the time. So
let's count to 10 minutes and then complaining can start or something.
Well, I'll keep it pretty brief. Really, the biggest reason I've not been doing anything is exhaustion, is what it really comes down to, is just exhaustion.
Yeah.
So I do the Inktwell stuff. I do my day job. And then I'm also playing video games, which the video game I tend to play the most, Destiny 2, sucks the life out of you. And then on top of that, I'm also the audiovisual consultant / tech support / colorist for the YouTube channel Knowing Better.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair here, there's a good 2 months per video where I don't do anything except for maybe help with the smallest of tech problems. And then as soon as we're getting close to crunch time on a video, I have no free time because it's like anything that can go wrong will attempt to go wrong. The good thing is we haven't had any complete deal breakers. So every project has at least gone off as best it possibly can, given the situation. But the amount of work that has gone into it, like the person that does Knowing Better, he's doing all of this as a one-man show for the most part. He does all of his filming, all of his editing, all of the post-production. That's what he does. I do the color correcting and stuff like that, but he's still doing 99.9% of the work. And these videos are an hour and a half to 2 hours long now. So I can only imagine like how exhausting it is for him. And then just coming off of the videos, like just some of the mental load that's required to do my portion of the job. I don't even want to look at a camera for like a week after a video comes out. So then it's like, yeah, I have a bunch of ink that I need to review. I don't want to turn on my camera. So
yeah, sort of when it turns into a job, then it's not fun anymore, I guess, after a while.
That's the one thing. I'm also trying to get to where the Inktwell is not a job anymore and get it back to where it's a passion project. It would be nice to have enough patrons to cover the back end expenses for that passion project, but going at it from the perspective of this has to be a money-making endeavor 24/7, 365, including all major holidays, is a little mentally taxing as well. So I think there needs to be a mental shift in how I look at it without sacrificing quality.
I don't know, how very un-American of you.
Yeah, I know, right?
To not try to make money out of it.
Well, I mean, I didn't start the Inktwell wanting to be rich.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. Fountain pens are not the way to do that in a social media sense.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube in general isn't a way to get rich either, right?
It depends on the content you're doing. But yeah, for the most part, you're better off just getting a regular day job. Because at least the regular day job will be a steady income. You don't have to worry about copyright claims. And yeah, you go into a day job expecting it to be the same thing over and over and over again. You don't want your YouTube channel to be the same thing over and over and over again. Or maybe you do. I don't know. So yeah, there's been a lot of mental realigning going on, trying to figure out exactly what I want from the YouTube channel. Then there was kind of the same mental process going into what to do with this podcast. I'm not the biggest fan of the fact that the name of our podcast, when you abbreviate it, is 2GOP. And thanks to America politics, I'm not a big fan of any abbreviation that immediately makes it sound like it's going to be political. So it's just stupid stuff like that. Yeah, so that's what's been going on. I'm trying to get myself back into doing things. I don't want to sit here and have a 7-month gap in between podcast episodes. And I really need to film a YouTube video at some point.
Do I still have pens left? I remember you selling a lot of them recently.
The ones that got sold were ones that had already been reviewed. And that's why they got sold, actually. I had reviewed them. And I keep a spreadsheet of when the last time was that I actually used a pen. And we'll talk about a much better version of that spreadsheet later that you've made. But a lot of those pens were coming up on 2 years without ever having been inked outside of the review. So at that point, why do I even have the pen? If I'm not using it, why did I get it? Aside from the review. So it's like, okay, I'll go ahead and sell it off.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I've gotten some things. I've got a new Pelican M800. A couple pilots, got a new Midori notebook, and Figboot sent me over the ink vent inks. So technically, I've got quite a few inks to last me a bit. And I think Phil is sending me a Shown Design nib and some ink samples. So I've got stuff to film. I just have to do it.
I guess making a video is quite a big thing anyway, right? So
it wouldn't be so bad if I wasn't such a perfectionist on the audio. Like what I'm hoping to do for this episode is just do the bare minimum. I mean, I've already got, that's the other thing. I bought a new microphone because of course I did. So I've got an Earthworks ethos going into an art voice channel that's doing EQ, compression, noise gating, de-essing. It's doing the majority of the work that I would normally do on the back end. So what you're hearing right now, I can't change. That's on tape. I can tweak it a little bit, but it is on tape. That's how it's going to be. And what I'm hoping to do for this episode is, other than tightening my timings and doing the EQ that I have to do to your microphone, I'm not wanting to touch mine at all and just release it as is. And if it sounds good enough, then that's what I'm hoping to do for the Inktwell stuff, because I use the same microphone and everything for the Inktwell stuff. So that way I'm saving myself time on the back end on the audio edit, hating the way I sound every single time.
Yeah, if you say you're not going to change it anyway, then yeah.
That's the nutshell of where have I been. And I may do a low-hanging fruit video, and my next video back to the Inktwell may just be a piece to camera going, hey, this is where I've been. This is what I'm wanting to do with the channel. And then the next video can be actual content. So we'll see if that's what I did. So yeah. So that was follow up, that was follow up to the last episode. Let's go ahead and actually start off with fountain pen spreadsheets. You've been doing a lot with FPC.
Actually, I haven't been doing that much with FPC, but I did get someone to help out. He's actually also a web developer, but much more of a good designer than I am. So that's William from Norway, and he basically redesigned the whole thing. And now FPC is actually looking good. He's been, playing around with and helping out there quite a lot recently, which is really cool.
Oh, wow. This does look different.
And we've been working on making it even nicer on mobile. So previously only this currently inked section was good to use, easy to use on mobile, but now we've also worked on making the rest easier to use on mobile devices. Yeah, and we are slowly progressing, and it's nice to not be the only one working on it, essentially.
What was the impetus for bringing on another person?
It actually was the other way around. He asked, right? And he said he's more into the design, and then he basically I said, hey, I'm happy with anything. This all looks a bit ugly. I'm happy with anything good looking, essentially, right? Go ahead and do what you want, essentially. And then he just came back and had completely redesigned the whole thing, essentially.
I mean, it's always nice to have them have reviews just kind of fall into it like that.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was looking at, I said reviews because I'm looking through FPC right now. And I was clicking on the part of the website that was going, hey, you have 7 inks that haven't been reviewed yet. That's a nice feature. So I didn't know that there's some inks here that have never actually been, that have no social media presence. Wow.
Well, they probably have, but I haven't managed to find them yet. Right. So I do have some automated processes where it goes through various YouTube channels and some various blogs and stuff to find matches for inks, but that's not really ideal. And then, of course, you always have the ability of there are certain people that actually add reviews on their own, which is really cool to sort of also find new blogs and new places where stuff is coming from.
Well, definitely nice that he came in and just said, hey, I want to do this thing. I like the look, at least on desktop. I haven't looked at it on mobile, but I'll probably do that a little bit later.
Yeah, it looks much better than the previous version.
Oh, wow. The review submission leaderboard.
Yeah, there's a few people that have added over 100 reviews manually.
I noticed that you are not on there. Yeah, no, you've taken yourself
off.
But
I'm taking myself off because I would be sort of, at least technically, I would have added, I don't know, over 10,000 reviews.
You did the honorable thing.
Because I'm sort of the user for all the automated stuff. And of course this isn't nice to be on basically forever at place number one, right?
Right. You don't want to skew the results that much.
Exactly.
Also, I like the visualizer. Even for the few amount of inks I've tried, that's actually a pretty color.
Yeah, that actually came from Slack. Someone played around with the data, made that visualization, and then I basically added it.
Now, how do you get a bigger version of that visualization?
You don't right now.
Because here's one thing I would like to do with a visualization like that. If you could make it to where it would output a 4K size visualizer of that, people could have truly unique desktop backgrounds of their inks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I know I'm not the only one that loves colorful desktop backgrounds, except for the fact that mine is currently a black and white photo of one of my dogs, but that's just how I like to have my desktop done.
Yeah, maybe I'll get around to it eventually. There's always so much to do.
What is on the docket next for changes that you're wanting to implement?
Let me check my list. I haven't worked on it for a while. Yeah. Sort of the big thing is there's various lists in there, right? A list for pens, a list for inks, a list for currently inks, a public list of inks and stuff like that. And they all work slightly different and have slightly different features. So in some you can sort stuff or you can search. And eventually I actually want to make them all work the same and look the same. That's sort of the long-term thing.
Okay, so just a lot of database recall, but with a nice UI.
Yeah, that's sort of.
I think I just described literally 90% of the internet.
Yeah, probably more, but.
Wow, and this, kids, is why you get more sleep than I have gotten. So I guess, kind of haphazardly circling back around. I'm a horrible person. I've already forgotten his name. The helper dude.
William.
Sorry, William. I'm a horrible human being. I apologize. So now that William's on board, I guess, does that change the frequency at which updates are done to the website? Or is William like doing more updates or doing fewer updates? Or is the website kind of just becoming its own machine that's able to kind of run itself without needing much tweaking behind the hood?
I mean, it mainly runs as is just fine, right? If new reviews come in, I have to sort of look at those and approve them. And then if there's completely new inks, I have to spend, 10 minutes a day on that as well. But yeah, there isn't that much change anymore, I would say. Eventually, I maybe get back to doing more. But right now, there isn't that much visible change happening, neither from me nor from William.
Okay. So it's kind of gone from a development phase into more of a maintenance mode with the occasional development.
Yeah, for now. And then eventually I will think of stuff and have motivation again. And then there will be new features. So what I did start and sort of half finished is probably not you, but other people like me with around 90 pens and 200 whatever inks. You sometimes want a way to have the website suggest pairings for you, right? And that's sort of what I'm playing around with, right? If you have a pen, you haven't used it often, and the last time you used it is a long time ago, then maybe that's a pen to dig out again. And then I'm playing around with a nice algorithm that sort of randomly suggests pens, but sort of those that haven't been used often get suggested more often. Those that haven't been used in a long time also get suggested more often. It's sort of where I am right now, because I try not to buy all the pens anymore. And then to keep it interesting, I try to cycle through what I have.
That's always a good thing. I've decided that as far as pens go, I'm not too interested in buying pens for the sake of, can I get a good review out of this anymore? If I buy a pen, I want it to be because I actually want to buy the pen. So there's probably going to be a lot more Kaweco and Pelican content on the channel, because those are the two brands that I tend to prefer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Guess how many pens I'm down to now?
8.
17.
17. Nice.
Yeah. I'm at 17, down from 31.
Yeah, that's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean it sounds like an amazing feature that quite a few people in the pen community could actually get some use from. Me, I don't maybe if I get more pelicans or something, probably. But yeah, right now, the way I've got my Google Docs spreadsheet set up is the cell turns yellow at the 19-month mark. And then as soon as it hits 24 months without having been marked as inked, it turns red. And if that cell in column, I think it's column I, is red, you're on the chopping block.
Yeah, I should probably try to get rid of quite a few of my pens too, but there's so many cheap pens that it's hard to even get motivated to do anything about them.
Yeah, those are the ones that I just give away. It's like, honestly, even with some of the Kavekos, I'm like, hey, you keep talking about wanting a fountain pen. Here you go. Here's 2 Kavekos. Different nib sizes. Figure out what you like.
Well, my 10-year-old is very good at destroying stuff, so he gets a cheap Chinese pen, and then a few months later, he gets the next one when he broke it.
Well, see, that's the problem of having kids.
I mean, that's the question, right? It's the problem of having cheap pens also, right? That's not a good combination because they are cheap for a reason, right?
Yeah, that is very true.
Something gives out and then it's broken.
And I say that's the problem with having kids, yet I have 2 dogs. One of my dogs likes to chew holes through blankets.
The same one that likes to chew pens?
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, her name is Karma. Because of course it is. She's sitting here off to my left, looking out the back door, just going, yeah, I know you're talking about me. And I'm going to choose something else when you're not looking. And it's just like, great. 6 years old and I still haven't broken her of the habit.
Yeah, now it's maybe a bit too late.
Probably. Speaking of the cheap Chinese pens, have you picked up any new ones?
Yeah, so I picked up all the Pilot capless copies. So the Mahjong A1 is sort of the straight up copy. Then there's another version without a clip, which is also nice. So it just has a flat piece of metal where the clip would be. Those are really nice pens. And then there's also the A2, which is sort of a plastic version, which with a not round barrel. So that's a bit more unique and not a straight up copy. So that is also nice. And as it's a cheap, at least 2 out of 3 nib units were good. So that's sort of the thing, right? But it's also completely compatible. So in theory, I could get just a Pilot nib unit if I wanted to.
I mean, I see where you've got them saying like €50 a piece. That's not necessarily cheap. That's like at least Conklin or Monteverde as far as price. Oh, wait. Those are occasionally 1 out of every 3 nibs is fine too. Never mind.
Yeah.
Your point stands.
Mm. Although, I mean, maybe better is the Platinum Curidas, which I on sale also got for €50. So that's also
Platinum Curidas.
I actually enjoy it. So it's a bit of a weird trying not to copy Pilot capless pen.
There was an episode a long time ago where I talked about wanting to review that pen, and I never did. I'll probably still never get around to it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird pen, but I like it. Yeah. So it's a bit of a gamble, I guess.
Well, that's kind of the important thing. As long as you like the pen, then does anything else really matter?
Yeah, that's true. And I generally enjoy pens that look a bit different and not just your standard cigar-shaped pens that everyone does.
Also, I just created a little bit of a headache for myself, listeners. I accidentally hit spacebar in Audacity.
And that means?
That means I have 2 audio files to have to pay attention to in post.
Ah, nice.
That is hilarious. Oh, boy. That's okay. You were actually talking when I did it, though. So I may be able to edit it like magic, and this will be the only thing that people will know that caused it.
Nice.
Probably not, though.
Yeah, so that is sort of the cheaper end. And now, yeah, I don't know. I'm eyeing some of the more expensive Pilots, but I'm not entirely sure if I should get one. And if sort of I probably have saved enough money for one, but I'm not sure what I want. And then let's see.
Do you have any Pelicans that you want to straight up trade for one?
No, just M200s. So.
I mean, let's wheel and deal here, man. M200s are not bad.
What do I have? I have this. What's this? This red one, the sparkly ruby, and then I have the yellow one and the see-through ones. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still undecided if I'm even gonna buy a pen in the near term future. But yeah, let's see.
I think pretty much for this year, I've gotten enough pen purchases out of the way for the year because at least in the States, a Pelican M800 with the Stressman pattern, it sets you back about $500.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good chunk of the pen budget.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm thinking it's probably best for me to just focus on like taking stock of what I have and focusing on paper because for reviews and stuff, I'm still going to keep using TR and probably Rhodia. But for my personal journals, I want to try using different paper. And thanks to Phil sending me a Team Cheesecake sticker, which Team Cheesecake is best team. Everyone else on Team Pie or Team Cake is just wrong. But yeah, thanks to the letter he sent me on some Midori MD cotton, I picked up a notebook. The purchase is not regretted.
Nice.
Now I just have to finish my current journal so I can feel good about writing in it.
Yeah, I still have a big stack of stuff that I have to use.
I think that's kind of the thing. You've already got a fairly significant collection as far as size goes. You could literally not purchase another pen thing the rest of your life and still, if you timed everything correctly, still be using new things 10, 15 years in the future.
Yeah, maybe not paper, but definitely pens and inks, yeah.
Right.
Although I did pick up some sort of, when they closed our office recently, I picked up some company branded notebooks. I don't know, 14 A5 size notebooks should last for a while too.
Is the paper halfway decent?
Kinda. So it doesn't feather, but it bleeds. So it's one of those weird papers. A bit. It doesn't bleed that horribly, but I also just dried it with a nudeless ink, so I don't know if that even counts as anything. Maybe it's fine with everything else.
You purposely set it up for failure.
I did. Although it was, I think, what was it? Black swans in Australian roses, so nothing crazy. But who knows? It's like an ink sample from 6 years ago. Who knows if it's even a normal ink? Yeah.
When was the last time I actually used a Noodler's ink? It would have had to have been for one of my reviews. That's just a brand I don't use anymore.
I think I actually have 2 bottles too. Yeah, I have Bay State Blue and Apache Sunset. So either bleeds horribly, or never dries. These are the 2 options.
Yeah, I think the last one I used was the USS Texas Battleship Gray. Pretty much, for the most part, I tend to stick with Diamine right now because that's the majority of the ink that I just end up getting. Either that or Robert Oster. I say that as I've got 3 bottles of Pilot ink sitting behind me going, review us.
Yeah, for me, it's currently all over the place because I'm trying to use up ink samples.
You say that. Let me get back to those pictures. So those are ink samples from 2017 that you have in your collection there.
Yes. So some I just had to throw out because they were almost dried up.
Yeah.
And then, but most were fine. And then we'll see. There's some weird stuff like Noodler's Blue Nose Bear, which is probably not usable at all, but we'll see.
Wow, looks like you've made a pretty good dent in the sample size there.
Yeah, but as sort of, I picked out the smallest samples first, right? So there were some samples where there was like 1 or 2 mil in there, right? And now I'm more or less left with the big ones where it's like at least 5 mil, or some are even bigger. So let's see.
So there was a sample bias. Okay. Now, do you have all of your samples separated into the year that you got them? Or is it just 2017 that you had separated out like that?
So the data is all in FPC, of course, so I could go back and check, but they are all just in a drawer randomly, and I picked out all the 2017 inks.
Oh, okay.
And then I have, and when I'm done with those, let's see what I do next. Because this is also not so many, right? So this was the first year, and it's like only a few months. But if it's, I think I looked at the data for 2018, it's probably 3 times the amount, at least. So it's also the easiest year to do.
Well, then doing the inks from 2018 should keep you busy at least until 2031.
Yeah, and it's not like I haven't bought any bottles since, right? So it's like there's like at least two 80 ml diamine bottles and 3 of the 30 ml. So it's still getting more ink, and it's not getting less. So, but yeah.
So here's a question for you. Do you think it's a trend in our little hobby of fountain pens and stationery? Do you think it's a trend for us to, as a group, always keep buying when we definitely don't need to, especially in the case of inks?
I mean, it is a very... it certainly looks like it's a community that is driven by the next hot thing, next ink, next, I don't know, special edition pen or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on, right? And then you have a podcast like the Pen Addict. It's interesting to listen to, but it's like 80% is here's the new thing content, right? So that also a bit reinforces the whole that whole thing. So I don't know if it's different than many other hobbies, though, right?
Right. Like even I guess with stuff like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or card games, at the end of the day, it's all a piece of cardboard with a picture on it. It does the same thing as the other piece of cardboard, but it's the design of that piece of cardboard that makes it different. Or I guess how you can use it in game, whatever the case may be. But
yeah,
do you really still...
Maybe it's like my wife saying that buying books is a different hobby from reading books, right?
Okay.
That's sort of it's similar, right? You can actually use your pens and inks for something, or you can just buy them and, I don't know, swap your inks, and then that's it. And I guess you're always somewhere in between.
So it's a little more justifiable if you're actually going through and using the things you buy instead of just putting them in a drawer and forgetting they exist.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, it's the question, what's the point of buying yet another pen if you already have 100, right?
Right. And then
you still use 10 of them for 90% of all your writing anyway, right? So
yeah, I still come back to the same 3 or 4 pens all the time.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of what drives that question. With stationery, there's only so many ways you can do paper. There's only so many ways you can do a fountain pen nib. There's only so many ways you can do an ink. Are we really seeing new innovations in each of those things? Or is it really just aesthetics that are changing and we're really just chasing the aesthetic?
Yeah. I mean, in the end, a pen is a really simple thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even the most complicated vac filler in the end is not nothing new. It has been invented, I don't know, 100 years ago or whatever the actual date was. But
right.
I don't know, maybe this is sort of the new thing these days. It's not something that people have to use in their daily life, right? It's they're choosing to use it, so it's more of a hobby anyway. So, and then you maybe don't buy this boring black pilot pen, but I don't know, a funky sailor in orange or whatever.
See, and on one hand, we have a pen society called the Black Pen Society that they love the look of an elegant black fountain pen. And then in the other hand of the community, like one of the people I work with on some other projects, she loves Sailor because they have all the colors.
Yeah.
It's the exact same pen, but it's a new color, and she has to have the new color. I guess I just don't understand it. I don't understand. I say that I don't understand it. Yet I collect cameras the same way. I collect stupid things the exact same way. Yet a pen isn't a stupid collection. It's actually useful.
To some degree, at least, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the question. I mean, I noticed for myself that sometimes I'm just stress buying, right? And I know I don't necessarily need it, but then I'm really stressed at that point and I buy something and then maybe use the pen once or twice. So
at least when you stress buy, it's only a pen and it's not an expensive one. When I stress buy, it's a Mac Mini.
Yeah. Although when I stress buy, it's like 5 not so expensive pens and I could have bought one good pen, right? I mean, not in one go, but then over a few days
True.
or weeks then.
True. And shopping therapy is unfortunately a thing, so that makes sense. Oh,
Yeah.
good old shopping therapy. There you go. That was waxing philosophical with Yvgenii. It's just one of those things where it never ceases to amaze me how simple the implements of our hobby really are, and yet how much variety there is in that simple hobby.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you sort of think, hey, the pen, that's a complicated thing. But in the end, probably the most complicated to make, I would guess, is the paper, right?
That's one thing I would actually like to know at some point. What goes into a paper manufacturer's thought process of how accommodating are we going to make our paper before we just say, screw it, you have to choose the right writing implement to use our paper? Because not every paper handles pencil correctly. Not every paper handles rollerballs correctly.
Yeah, and how much batch variety is there, right? How hard do you try to make it always the same? Because that's something we've seen too all the time, right? That it's oftentimes it's a good paper, but sometimes it's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, getting that right is then the QC issue, right? And then makes it even more expensive. And that's why a normal pen is expensive and the Chinese pen is less expensive. That's, I guess, most of the money is actually spent on QC.
Well, and kind of economies of scale. If the factory is already in China and China's not, here's where I open up a huge can of worms. When the factory is in China and China doesn't really care about honoring patents or design ownership, then they have the ability to keep their overhead much lower than other companies, so they can churn out more pens. So I think it comes down to their economy of scale allows for less quality control.
Yeah, and also because they are sort of a almost anonymous company, right? You just buy the pen and you don't expect any customer care, right? You don't expect if something breaks in 6 months that you can be able to go back and have it replaced or fixed or something like that, right?
Exactly.
You're also sort of giving that up by paying less upfront, I guess.
Well, like the Pilot 845 I just sold. When Karma ate the nib, like if that had been a Wingsung or a Jinhao, they wouldn't have sent me a replacement, and it would have only been a $10 pen. So I would have just gone and bought a $10 pen. Pilot, I send them the pen, and they put a brand new $300 nib on there.
Mm-hmm.
Which person who bought that pen, yes, that nib has not been chewed by either of my dogs. I promise. That original nib is locked away in a keepsake of things my pets have done that I can't believe they did. Yeah, there's plenty of shredded things where it's like, really, that's what you chose to shred? You two are very wonderful dogs indeed. Why do I always take us down these weird philosophical rabbit holes?
I don't know. Anything else isn't interesting. I don't know. There's a lot of. We have a show note document with all the cheap pens and inks I bought and finished, and doesn't sound very interesting to talk about them all, right?
See, my big thing is I don't want to talk about all of them in one time. That way we have stuff to talk about in the future.
Yeah, or maybe there's something new. I don't know. Maybe by next time I will actually have saved up and decided if I want to buy an expensive. I don't know. I've been eyeing the Pilot Custom 823, but that I'm not sure I want the vac filler.
I had one, and I don't have one. It's a good pen. If you get one, it's a good pen. The vac filler is really nice. The nibs are good. Pilot makes good stuff.
Yeah. It's just using ink samples and vac fillers generally don't go well together, right?
Right. Why did I sell the 823? Oh, yeah. Yeah. It hit the 2-year part on the spreadsheet without being used. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I think I first need to see if I can get rid of some of the pens, right? Because otherwise I'll feel bad. Even if it's a cheap pen and I haven't used them in a long time, then
right.
I'm dinging it out again. And then, I don't know.
Get yourself down to a good number, like 30. And then buy more pens.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, I think I'm currently at 93 or something.
Oh, dear
so
God.
30 is... Yeah, okay. But then if you have 3 Jinhao X159s in there and a lot of cheap Chinese pens, then it sort of adds up there, right? So maybe if I get rid of anything that's below, I don't know, 15 euros or so, then I've already halved my collection or something.
See, I'm sitting there thinking about it. The 159 is actually a fairly good penabling pen. Like for people that are like, I don't want to go out and spend $40 on a pen. It's like, okay, well, here's a 159. Have fun.
Yeah. I mean, I did that in the past when I actually went to an office. And we had an office, but these days I'm just sitting at home, right? So it's like, who would I even penable, right?
I envy you. I have an office. I have to go to that office.
Yeah. They actually closed our office, I think, 2 weeks ago or something.
Oh, wow.
Almost no one came anymore. And they actually closed most offices around the world because people just kept working from home.
Well, I mean, when the company allows you to do that, why not take advantage of it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and save some stuff on that show doc. That way we've got motivation to come back and record another episode. And let's see if I can not delay us another 6 or 7 months. How's that sound?
Yeah, I could try that too. Let's see.
Well, then, definitely good catching up with you. And I look forward to seeing what we actually talked about when we listen back to this and figure out what the show notes look like and what we've got to talk about in the future.
Sounds good.
And for everyone listening, we'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.